Okay, I think we're recording. Hi, it's Marcy. It's October. No, it's August 9th. It's a Sunday, so it's Book Talk Sunday. I think this is now the 10th or so Book Talk Sunday that I'm doing on What's Up, Marcy. So thank you for tuning in again. I really appreciate you being here because talking about books with myself, although I do it every day, it's much more fun to be talking about books with you. So today we're going to talk about a book that I absolutely loved by an author I absolutely love. Her name is Alice Hoffman, and the book is called The Dovekeepers. It's a historical fiction novel, absolutely beautiful and harrowing and mesmerizing and exquisitely written, based on the biblical historical story of the Siege of Masada, Mount Masada. The story takes place in 70 CE, over 2,000 years ago, just after the Second Temple of Jerusalem fell. And our first heroine is the daughter of an assassin and has to make her way through the desert, etc. And the story is really about four amazing women, very different, amazing Jewish women, and their brutal and fantastic and heroic lives as they all wind up living in the Jewish settlement at the top of Mount Masada. And the story is basically how they survive through the Roman siege on Masada, which is a mountain in the Judean desert. According to the ancient historian Josephus, I'm reading my notes because I'm never going to remember this, Josephus, 2 women and 5 children survived. So based on the tragic and iconic event, this novel talks about these 4 extraordinarily bold and heroic women. There's Yael, whose mother died in childbirth, and her father, who's an expert assassin, never forgave her for her mother's death. She's the one we start with. And then she meets Revka, the village baker's wife, and watched the horrifically brutal murder of her daughter by Roman soldiers. She brings to Masada her young grandsons, who were rendered mute by their the tragedy and the grief and the horrific murder of their parents. There's Aziza, who's a warrior's daughter. She was raised as a boy and a fearless rider and an expert marksman, and she finds passion with a fellow soldier that she shouldn't have found because, of course, she shouldn't have been a female warrior. It was 2,000 years ago, but was. Let's not apply should. Shira, who was born in Alexandria, is wise in the ways of ancient magic and medicine, and she's a woman of uncanny insight and power. And all 4 of these women wind up working together in the dovecote, where they raise and nurture all of the doves. They become the Dovekeepers and the secret keepers. And the doves figure into lots of ritualistic, ceremonial things that they do on the mountain to practice Judaism and to survive. And these fiercely complex and fiercely independent women intersect together in the dovecote and help each other in very unexpected, beautiful ways. It's a lovely novel. And I'm going to read you a little tiny piece of it from page 32 and 33 of the novel. So let's just briefly talk about Alice Hoffman. While I was doing a little research for this book talk, I learned some stuff about Alice Hoffman. And here I'm going to read my notes because I don't want to get it wrong. She's amazing. Alice Hoffman was born in New York City and grew up on Long Island, just like me, where I'm talking to you from now, Kings Park in Suffolk County on the North Shore of Long Island. She went to Adelphi University. She went to Stanford University and attended their creative writing center and received a master's in creative writing. She lives between Boston and New York. Her first novel was called The Property of, and since then she has become one of our most distinguished novelists. She's written 18 novels, 2 books of short fiction, and 8 books for children and young adults. Her novel Here on Earth, an Oprah Winfrey Book Club choice, was a modern reworking of some of the themes of Emily Bronte's masterpiece, Wuthering Heights, which I never even heard of before this. So that's going to be the next thing on my reading list. She wrote a book called Practical Magic, which I don't know if you remember from the 90s, was made into a Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman movie with Stockard Channing and a phenomenal cast. Great movie. I really enjoyed that very much. Her novel At Risk concerns a family dealing with AIDS and is on the reading lists of colleges, universities, and secondary schools across the world. She used the money from a novel she wrote called Local Girls to found the Hoffman Women's Cancer Center in Cambridge, Massachusetts. She wrote Blackbird House, which I loved, which was a book of stories centering around an old farm in Cape Cod. Aquamarine and Indigo novels for preteens. She writes about love and loss, another story about an Amazon girl in the Bronze Age, hidden Jews in the Spanish Inquisition, secret histories, historical fiction, tragedy, triumph. Her work has been published in more than 20 translations and over 100 foreign editions. That's amazing. She received honorable mentions for notable books in the New York Times, Entertainment Weekly, Los Angeles Times, Library Journal, People Magazine. She was the screenwriter and an author of the original screenplay Independence Day, which is a film starring Kathleen Quinlan and Diane Wiest. Her short fiction and nonfiction has appeared in the New York Times, the Boston Globe Magazine, Kenyon Review, Redbook, Architectural Digest, Gourmet, Self, and other magazines. And her novel Aquamarine was recently made into a film starring Emma Roberts, who is Julia Roberts' niece, I believe. Anyway, so Alice Hoffman, she's phenomenal. Her writing is exquisite. Her description, her character arcs, her language use is just evocative and beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to start here on page 32, sort of in the middle, but it's just beautiful. I was building a fire to cook our meals of lentil cakes on the griddle I'd bought with me from Jerusalem. He crouched down next to me. The sky paled with heat. The larks were flying in the dim light. The great colonies of bee-eaters were calling, their brilliant blue feathers slicing through the hazy air. Joachim ben Simon was more commanding than most men, and I could feel the heat of his presence beside me. He didn't look at me this time. Instead, he reached down and ran his hand across my leg, lingering over the cuts I had made until my skin seemed on fire. "You're not afraid of the things most other women fear," he said. I realized this was true. He still wasn't looking at me, but he seemed to know me, even though I was hidden inside my veils. Most women feared for the lives of their children and husbands. Their concerns were starvation, illness, demons, enslavement. I feared the lions in my dreams, half believing I would be devoured by one of the creatures that stalked through my sleep. I was afraid an angel would be waiting for me in the desert, sent there to tell me that my life was a ladder of mistakes, that I was a born murderer responsible for the death of my own mother before I took my first breath, that my crime was worse than that of any assassin, for I was guilty not only in the eyes of my father, but in the eyes of God. Ben Simon took his hand away, but I could still feel the heat of his touch. I felt it for days. Did that mean he was an angel hidden among us, there to judge me? Or was he only a man who wanted to satisfy himself? It's just beautiful, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody by telling you more, but the story, as a Jewish woman, I grew up hearing certain stories from the Bible, certain anecdotal narratives from old Judaic stories and myths, and learned some patchy pieces of Judaic history from this period. And so what I found really exciting while I was reading this, besides the beautiful crafted language itself, was the piecing together of stories that I had learned over the years about the falls of the temples of Jerusalem and the Roman battles against the Jews as they were scattered through the desert, about the Roman siege on Masada and the different sects or different groups or tribes or survivors from various cities spread through the desert as they all sort of helped each other survive and defend the mountain against the onslaught of the Romans. And it was beautiful. I heard there was lots of Judaic tradition and celebration of holiday. Their take on how to celebrate Passover is beautiful, and I can see how the seders that they did 2,000 years ago are reflected in the seders that I have with my family every spring. It was extraordinary. I absolutely recommend this to anybody. It is on sale everywhere books are sold. I happened to pick mine up at the local book review in Huntington, which is about 10 miles a little west of me. And it happened to be on the bargain table. So it absolutely was a bargain. This was published, I don't even know what year. Let's see, what year. It was published by Scribner, in 2011. So it's really only 9 years old, but it's a beautiful novel. Anyway, so historical fiction, little Judaic tradition, little biblical story, lots of beautiful prose. So I hope you enjoy it. And thank you for tuning in to my, I think, 10th weekly Book Talk Sunday. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I look forward to seeing you here at What's Up Marcy. Please like and share and subscribe. There's only about 32 subscribers at this point, but I'm hoping that this becomes a place where people come to watch videos about not only books and writing, but also about mental health and anxiety and mental illness and health and wellness. I did an interview with my dietitian recently, and we talked about nutritional health. And I've had talks with other people about the books that I've written. And next week, we're going to do an interview with a friend of mine who is a breast implant survivor. And that'll be an interesting talk. So please leave a comment down below. Let me know what kinds of stuff that you want to see in the future. Please check me out at marcybrockman.com. You can sign in and say hi. You can join my friends list at marcybrockman.com and get the semi-weekly, bi-weekly, sometimes more often, sometimes less than that, newsletters and information about art sales and book promotions and videos and all sorts of interesting stuff. So check it out and see. All the links will be down below. And thanks for sharing. I appreciate it. Hope you enjoy the book talk, and I strongly recommend the Dovekeepers. Bye.